there. I am recording you all right now. And don't worry, the world will not be seeing all your lovely faces, just EIV headquarters will. To make sure of your attendance, they're gonna look at your faces, make sure you came, check you off, yada, yada, yada. And then make sure you stick around for the end of the workshop, because not only will I be answering any questions you might have, but I need to send you all a form for you all to fill out just to give consent to being filmed, if that's okay. You can always just click on the link and leave the Zoom if you have to. So yeah, so a little introduction about me. My name is Cayleigh Pine. I spell my name like this. I know, it's interesting. And I am currently, or I just did, Hex and Final Girl, which are two EIV productions. I acted in both of them, and I also was the producer on Hex. And I've been a part of around 6 to 7, maybe even 8 EIV productions. I can't count. And I've acted in all of them. So I have a little bit of experience, you could say, in how acting with EIV works. I'm also a sophomore, I forgot to say that, Sophomore VMA. So my first slide, should I present it or can you guys see this okay? Should I go press present or that's good? Okay, I'm gonna keep it a little small just so I can see all your faces. So my first slide is about how to actually prepare for an EIV audition. So what you're gonna wanna do first is attend the EIV general meeting. Because of Zoom, it's a little different than how it has been in previous years. If you haven't attended an EIV general meeting before COVID hit, it was everyone, pretty much like all of Emerson got into one room, which is very much a corona safety hazard. And we would all watch a big presentation on this screen that kind of delved into all the shows that were going to be happening, little trailers and pitches and concepts. And most importantly, for all you actors out there, character lists, character roll calls. So a lot of the times the producers will read the list on their presentation of what roles they're looking for. And because of corona, we had a YouTube video that we made instead of an actual presentation or even a Zoom presentation. We made a little rinky-dink YouTube video that you could watch, and I'm assuming that's what's gonna happen for next semester, where we listed out what roles we're looking for. And so with those roles and with auditions, you may be thinking you need a headshot and a resume. You really don't need either. We say you do, and I'm saying this as a producer, we say you do, but you really don't. You can email your resume or headshot if you have it, but if you don't, it's totally fine, because at the end of the day, EIV is for people who are newcomers. It's for people to gain experience and to learn. And if you haven't even been in a show or film or play before, it's honestly fine. And if you don't have anything on your resume, then EIV is kind of perfect for you, because now you can start building that resume. And so the most vital thing that I think anyone will tell you about EIV and acting for EIV is the form. Dun, dun, dun. The form. So the form will have you pick your top 3 shows. So on this form, you kind of list out, like, for example, Final Girl, Hex, and a student film. Those are 3 productions that are going on this semester. So if I get this EIV form, you have to fill it out. It's required for anyone who auditions or even goes out for crew calls. You fill it out by ranking. So like number 1, I really want to be on Final Girl. So I'll put actually what, I'm not gonna say Final Girl, I'm gonna say Hex because I'm producing it. Hex is number 1. So I'm gonna put Hex at the top, my first choice. Then if you have your second choice show, Final Girl, put that on the second ranking. And then you have your third, which might be a student film. You put that in your third. You can only be a part of 3 shows. You can't do any more than 3. I don't know anyone who has ever done more than 3. I don't even think that's allowed. If you want to try it, you can probably argue your case, but I would suggest to not do that. So once you attend that EIV general meeting and you kind of get an idea of what's happening, I'm going to suggest as an actor, you should be doing your research. And what I mean by that is to, most importantly, investigate the producers. Now, a lot of people kind of choose to just show up on the day of the audition, kind of read that script, get it over with. A lot of people don't want to do outside research. And I'm telling you right now, as an actor for EIV, like, doing that outside research will help you get that role. And so by investigating the producers, I mean, when you're sitting in that general meeting or watching that general meeting on your screen, watch how the producers are interacting with each other. Which ones are more extroverted? Which ones are more introverted? Which ones take the lead more? Which ones are the director? Which ones are, you know, the logistics producer? You have so many different personalities engaging each other when they pitch, and you can kind of get a grasp of how people will by watching how they interact with each other, how they're going to interact with you. So if they come across as well-spoken and they know what's going on and very detail-oriented, I would place a good bet on working with those producers, because as an actor, you want someone who's reliable and who knows what they're doing. And if you think just from their presentation alone that they kind of got their stuff together, then you might want to work with them. Now, if they seem from their pitch a little less fluid and less like they know what's going on, maybe they don't even have any shooting dates written up on the board, things might get a little iffy. So also with investigating the producers, have they been on successful productions before? Are they, experienced? Have they find their Instagrams, find the show's Instagrams. Usually in the actual meeting, they give you all those handles of all their social media. But if they don't, they tell you their names. Stalk them. Stalk them. Go on Instagram, stalk them. Go on Facebook, stalk them. Stalk me. We have the internet. Do what you will with it. You can find these producers anywhere. You can get a really good grip on who they are as a person, who they are as a producer, how their shows are run, and if they actually are passionate about their shows, just from looking on their Instagram pages. Have they posted about shows that they've done in the past, or no? Do they have in their Instagram bio a link to their Vimeo page where they've shown a reel of their work? You can kind of get a good grasp on how they are as a producer, a director, a writer, just from looking at their social media. So I would definitely recommend hitting them up for that. And so also, when you're at this meeting, find out about the plot and the characters. Does the project seem interesting? Does it seem like it's something that could actually work? Does it seem a little too good to be true? And most importantly, what characters are they looking for to cast? Does it seem like something that might be up your alley? And if they are forgetting to include characters, find, again, the show's Instagram page, because usually they post all about the producers and the characters they're looking for on it if they're still casting. So yeah, utilize social media. Big game changer. And now another piece of my advice, be smart about it. And what I mean by that is the role that you're looking at for a particular show a guaranteed role versus just a fun project to be on? And what I mean by guaranteed role is this. If you are, let's say, you usually play really extroverted, big personality type characters. And this character is nothing that you want to go out for, is nothing like that, super introverted and shy. Do you think you can play that role? Is that a guaranteed role for you to get? Or is that a very big stretch for you? Meanwhile, show number 2 is looking for a very extroverted, big personality type that really, really suits you. Now, is that more of a guaranteed role than show number 1? I would say so. But the thing is, many people who audition are very picky, and they tend to go for the shows that are more fun and, oh, like, I love this concept. But sometimes they don't get cast. And they're like, well, why didn't I get cast? Like, I love the show so much. It's because you went out for the show that you didn't find a guaranteed role for. You went out for the show that you thought was super fun and edgy and fun and flirty and fresh, and you didn't go out for the show that had a guaranteed role for you, that had something that, hey, maybe typecasting you, but like you're guaranteed to get a role in that show. And so that's not to say that you shouldn't be going out for projects that you think are fun. Sometimes the shows can be both. They can offer you a guaranteed role that you know you could get, as well as being a fun premise. But a lot of the time, the roles that you know you could get might not be for projects that you're a diehard fan of. And what a lot of people do is they act very picky and they only go out for a certain number of shows. And you can be picky. If you're being offered, 3 different roles for 3 different shows, good on you. You can be picky. You can turn down shows that you are not a fan of. But if you're not getting offered anything, and you went out for a show with a character that you don't fit at all because you like the concept, and you're not being offered 1 role, I think that's a time for you to look at your empty resume and kind of say to yourself, okay, maybe I should go out for the shows where I know I can for sure get cast. So make that your top priority. Are you looking to be a part of a show that's kind of fun and might possibly reject you because you don't fit a character? Or are you going to go out for a show where you know for a fact you could get that role? And so coming from a producer, what a producer wants when they're looking to cast an actor. You may think it's, a Meryl Streep level of talent that we're looking for, like that, a beautiful performance. You would be wrong. Think of this. This is a student-run organization. You could be the next Meryl Streep, but do you have a super busy schedule? Do you have classes like every day, extracurriculars on weekends? You can barely divvy up your time for us? We're gonna cast the kid who may have never acted in their life over you because they have the time commitment to give to our show, and you don't. And that's not to say that you have to, block out weekends upon weekends in order to be on our show, but like, you gotta have some free time, because between you and me, or between all of us and me, a lot of times these producers go over their time. They say that they're gonna stick to a weekend or 2 shooting days. Typically they don't. There's this thing called pickups. Some of you may know it, some of you may not. It's when you have to go back and you reshoot anything that you missed, any scenes that you may have skipped over, or you need some more coverage of something else that wasn't even originally on the shot list. You go to the pickups, which is probably another weekend. Then you get into ADR. ADR is recording you in a studio or some other location, recording any sounds, post-production essentials, just your voice, certain lines that may have in a take not been clear enough to hear you. So now you have a whole other weekend that you have to come back and record for. So when you originally sign on for 1 weekend, you're actually signing on for 3 weekends, potentially. So you really have to keep that in mind when you're gonna join a show, because sometimes things go over, and at first you sign on thinking, okay, I can dedicate 1 weekend to it. It's sometimes, and most likely, never gonna be just 1 weekend. And producers know that, but the actors auditioning don't. But we love to see whenever someone has a pretty blank schedule, because then we can just, erase everything that's happening and put ourselves into it. So if you have the time commitment, I can guarantee you, if you tell them, I'm down for any times you give me, they're gonna start considering you more than maybe someone who may have been way more perfect for the role, because you had more time than the other person did. Now, the second thing that they're looking for is just dedication. You can be as committed as you want, but if you aren't answering emails, if you aren't filling out the when to meets about when to have a rehearsal or something to that effect, they're gonna look at you like, what the heck? And maybe they'll keep you on the cast of the show, but they will not be rehiring you. And a lot of the times, a lot of actors, they get hired for other productions because they've worked with those producers before. It's just like, I hate to say it, but it's just like Hollywood. I mean, look at like Tim Burton. He cast Helena Bonham Carter and Johnny Depp in every freaking film. Why? He loves to work with them. They're committed, they're dedicated, and they got time for him. I mean, Helena's married to the girlfriend to him, so kind of has to have time for him. But Johnny Depp is in a committed relationship with Tim Burton. He's in every movie. So you have to kind of have that dedication. And by dedication, I don't only mean just time. I mean your personality, your Instagram posts, your social media. Are you reposting things from the show? Are you liking their posts? Are you following them on Instagram? Producers see the people who like their stuff. Their shows don't have that many followers. At most, they'll have like 90 followers on their Instagram. Be in their top 5 of the followers that are liking all their posts. They're gonna see your name all the time, and they're gonna know who you are right before you come into the room. Keep following them, keep liking all their posts, dedicate yourself to the project. And when you walk into that room, tell them, I'm just so grateful to be here right now. Even if I don't get cast, oh my God, I love the script, I love the concept, it's amazing. We can tell when you care and when you don't. I've had people come in and audition for me, and they look at the script and they go, so what's the context of this? Would you audition for Wicked and not know Wizard of Oz? No. You need to know the context of what you're going in for, because people are not going to waste their time explaining to you what you're going to audition for. They're going to give you the script the day of. Maybe they'll give you the sides if you email ahead of time, but they're not going to tell you full on like, this is our show. Act 1 happens, blah, blah, blah. Act 2 happens, blah, blah, blah. The climax is blah. Like, no one's going to tell you that. You need to read all the Instagram posts. You need to attend the general meeting and figure out what the context is. And that way you're showing that you're knowledgeable about their show and you're also passionate about their show. And if you're not passionate, you're an actor. Act. Pretend that you care. Producers love when you're like, I love your show. Just say you love it. It's not hurting anyone. It makes you look better. Just act and pretend you like it, even if you don't. And that way you kill two birds with one stone. You act like you are more dedicated than you actually are, and you make them really, really like you. And so, moving on from all of that, here are some acting tips and tricks I've learned throughout my many of 20 years I've lived, such a long time. And my first little tip for you, and don't worry, I will not be making you guys do anything, okay? Don't worry. My first tip is to invest in the character. I'm sure you've all heard this millions of times, even if some of you guys aren't even actors, I'm sure you've heard of this, but I don't mean this in like a stupid, cliche way. I mean this in kind of like a logistical way. What I like to do is I like to open up a script for a particular character, read through it, and like, let's say, for example, this character is kind of mourning the loss of their mother. Their mother just passed. And maybe you've never even experienced loss in your own life. So how are you possibly going to relate to this person who just experienced loss? You don't know what that feels like. You don't know what grief feels like. But there must be some instance in your life where you felt really, really sad. It could be a boyfriend or a girlfriend broke up with you, or it could be a friend did you dirty and betrayed you or gossiped about you. There are moments when you felt a close enough feeling to grief that you can invest that into your character. And so what I like to do is I would go through my script and I would write, okay, in this part of the monologue, I should be feeling this emotion right here. So I might write, if it's talking about like the mother, I'll write, my friend Suzanne, or whatever the heck the friend's name is, John Smith, did me dirty in this point in time in my life. I might write that right next to another person's name or another part of the monologue, just so when I look at that particular part of the monologue, I'll remember, oh yeah, I should be feeling this emotion right here. So I should be thinking of this experience right here. So as you're saying these lines, you can kind of picture like, okay, at this point, I should be feeling this emotion. How can I feel this emotion? I'll remember this moment that really impacted me in my life, and I'll try to insert that and kind of convert that emotion into the correct emotion I'm supposed to be feeling. And it really does help if you go through your script and you write out, right here in the monologue, I'll think about the time my brother was really mean to me, blah, 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 and I'll get really mad. Things like that do help more than you think, because that way you are remembering. It's kind of like a therapy session. It's like writing in your diary. Place all your emotions onto the page before you place them into your character, because that way you can train your brain to remember where and pinpoint exact points where you should be feeling certain emotions. Train your brain first, memorize patterns first, and then do it for real when you're acting. And so another little thing is that, to keep this in mind, plays and musicals, theater, very different from film. And by that I mean, there's a lot more talking in theater. Theater is a lot of dialogue. Sometimes there can be like 3 pages of dialogue in like one scene of a play. You would never get that in film, never. Most of film is showing, not telling. You show a lot. And when you're showing something, you tend to show close-ups of a character's face because you want to see reactions. So think of this for an example. Sometimes someone will be talking with someone on screen. They'll be having a scene together, a dialogue scene, a 2-person scene. One person will be talking, the other is listening. Now, the director can choose to either focus on the person talking, but a lot of the time, they focus on the person who's reacting. So for example, if in this scene, we have the person talking, they're saying, I just found out your husband cheated on you. Are we gonna be paying attention to the person talking? Or are we gonna pay attention to the person reacting, the person who just got cheated on? We're gonna pay attention to the person who just got cheated on because we wanna see that big reaction, that juicy reaction. We wanna know as an audience member, oh my God, how is she going to behave now that she's heard this terrible news? So as this person is talking, the camera is gonna be right up on the other person's face. But she doesn't have any dialogue. So what does she show? How does she react? It's all your facial expressions. You can only show that because you have no lines. So a tip that I have for that is imagine if you were that person. You just got cheated on. If you had dialogue, how would you react? Oh my God, I cannot believe this. I've been with him for how many years and he's doing this to me right now? Oh my God, I cannot believe this. We were just about to get engaged. All that internal monologuing, do that all in your head as you're reacting. Because even in your own real lives, I'm sure you've thought things in your heads and you've kind of been reacting like facially and you don't know that you're reacting, but people might tell you like, oh, like, are you okay? You look kind of down. Because you're saying everything in your head, but you're not expressing it out loud. And that's perfect for film. So if you don't have any dialogue in a scene, create your own dialogue, create your own response, but don't say it out loud. Say it all in your head as if you are actually having these reactions, and you can show it out physically, but mentally, your brain's going haywire with an internal monologue. Because anything you say in here will be shown out here. So anytime you have a reacting scene, just think, how would I, dialogue-wise, react to this? Would I start ranting at this person? Would I be really angry? Would I be really sad? And then say everything you want to say in your head, and your face will do all the talking. So that's another tip I have for you guys. And then my final tip is, this isn't theater, but don't feel like you have to contain yourself. So when I first started acting and doing that transitioning from theater to film, I was really nervous because I have a very big, not personality, but just facial expressions. I have very big facial expressions. I'm very big, jazz hands, you know, theater gal. How do I act in a film? It's so tiny, everything's so minute. There's so many micro expressions. How can I change my whole entire personality and my very being to fit into a film? And the thing is, you don't have to. You really don't have to. Of course, you can't, act for an audience that's like feet away from you, because that's just theater. But your natural personality, if you have a big personality naturally, you can put that into your character. You can use your personality. You don't have to change your facial expressions or your body language, unless you're playing like a character who is nothing like you at all and is super, super shy and introverted and doesn't move at all. But if you're playing a character kind of similar to yourself, you don't have to feel like you have to tone down how you would normally react to things, because, your natural might be different from my natural. If we're both showing the emotion sadness, I might be really big with it and you might be really small with it, but that's just how we naturally would react in real life. And just because you may act a little bigger in real life, that does not mean you have to tone yourself down fully, especially if you're playing a character very similar to yourself. And if you look in the real world, in the industry, many actors play themselves all the time. And isn't being yourself the most natural and realistic you can be? Yes. So if you're just playing yourself at this point, you don't need to contain yourself. You should be as real and authentic as you can be in order to help your character and convey the emotions that they're trying to express. And so if you're constantly worried about, oh, I shouldn't be this big with my hands, or, oh my God, my facial expressions are too big, my eyes are too wide, I would not be freaking out about that, because those are just little quirks in your personality and in your natural behavior of how you would react to things in the real world off camera. And so if it's authentic, include it in your character. Don't freak out if you're too big or too small. Just be natural with it. Be your natural self. Unless you're playing like a completely other person. But usually actors don't get cast as completely other people. They usually get cast as themselves, or people who have like little quirks, little differences from themselves, but it's usually themselves. And then finally, I'm going to talk about some weird experiences I've had on EIB sets. It'll be a little fun time. So my advice and since, the thing is just us girls here, for female actors out there who want to join the EIB set, definitely prepare to be the only woman on set. I have been the only woman on set. I've been on a set before where there were all male crew members. There were no other women on the crew. I had the one other woman was a female director who was directing me while laying strewn on her bed. And she was not even paying attention to what was going on. And I had to have I believe it was a cinematographer or maybe the sound guy come up to me and go, so like, we're going to shoot your take now, but you only got one go at it. So I'm already the only woman on set feeling uncomfortable, sitting in a chair, all of these male crew members surrounding me. My only other woman in the room to support me is laying on the bed on her phone. And now they're telling me they got to rush my take and I only get one shot. So if I screw up, that's what's going in their film. Not a great experience. So what I want to let you guys know is be aware about that. Be aware of those things. You may think that those things will not happen to you. They will. No matter if you're on a student set or you're in the real world in the industry, these things happen. Unfortunately, until, we can make some real change, but they do happen. And sometimes other women will not be sticking out their necks for you, unfortunately. And I really wish that was the case. I hope on my own sets, I try to do that. But sometimes as an actor or an actress, you're very much pushed aside. People think, they think you're just an actor, just an actress, and they can kind of treat you however they want. And that's why you should always try to have a bit of a backbone. Be a bit assertive. As women, we're always told to, be polite, be nice, smile, and it kind of sucks up any assertiveness that we possibly could have. You need to be a little assertive. You have to have a backbone. And if you are feeling uncomfortable, you have to tell someone. You should not have to feel like you have to stick it out all by yourself. Because there is a line between professionalism and unprofessionalism. And EIV is somewhere in the middle because we're all students. None of us are perfect. We're not in the industry yet. We're not professionals. But there is a line. And so if you're going from this middle ground to just straight up unprofessional, you need to alert someone and let them know, because that's not behavior that should be allowed on any set, regardless of lack of experience. Because you don't need experience to treat people with human decency. And if you're feeling uncomfortable, you have to tell someone. And so also, as I kind of said before, the atmosphere on sets, it can change depending on who runs it. I've been on sets before where it was like smooth sailing, everything was great, I knew exactly what I was doing, the director was super open to any suggestions I gave them. And then I've been on sets where once, stress became really apparent, and hey, we all get stressed. You may think that you're not going to get stressed on a set, you will get stressed. But sometimes people handle stress differently. And that's okay, handle it however you want. But if you're handling it in a way where you're lashing out at people and you're projecting onto people and you're not letting your set run in a steady pace, in a steady way, it becomes problematic. And it can affect your actors because now your actors are kind of sucked out of the mood that they were in and they don't know how to get back. And so this is just letting you know that sometimes the atmosphere on sets might be a little uncomfortable and might not be kind of a creative environment. They might just look at you and go, okay, act. And that's kind of all you get. And that's something you need to be aware about, because as an actor, if you're not getting any direction, then it's kind of up to you to create your character and create this scene without any help. And you should definitely ask for that help, but sometimes they might not give it to you without you asking. And then, finally, again, just to reiterate, do whatever you're comfortable with. I had to do a scene for a film where I actually didn't get a chance to do this because I actually had a conflict, but another actress did it that was with me. I was asked to snort cocaine in a film. And not real cocaine, don't worry. But don't worry, not real cocaine. But I don't know what they were gonna use, like probably some baby powder, something, whatever, I don't know. Crushed vitamins, I don't know. But I was told that. I wasn't even asked that. I was told that very nonchalantly. Hey, so by the way, like on this day, you're gonna be shooting this scene in the newsroom, and then the next day, we're gonna be shooting you at the party scene. You're gonna smoke some cocaine. Okay, great. And I was like, wait, rewind. My character's doing what? And, thankfully, I was okay with that. But I'm sure many actresses would not have been okay with that. I don't know. There's a lots of more, reserved women and men who would be like, my family has to watch me doing this on camera now. This has to be on the internet. And they didn't tell me before I signed up for this role, because I wasn't told this in the audition process. I wasn't told that I had to be snorting or smoking or doing anything on camera until they just randomly brought it up. If you're uncomfortable doing something, don't do it. It's not worth it. And you should not feel pressured by anyone to do it. And if you are, again, be assertive, have your backbone, and don't put up with it. You're not going to get blacklisted from EIV. You're not going to have someone be like, don't work with this person. They're super difficult. They're a diva. I felt like that on sets before. I felt like that. I felt, oh, I shouldn't say anything because like I don't want to be, I don't want to be seen as rude. I don't want to be seen as extra. If you're uncomfortable and it's something very, that could leave a lasting impact on you, sorry, don't do it. And then finally, hi Tristan, I think you might be a little late. Finally, any questions? We're on our last slide. But yeah,
I have a question.
Oh yeah, what's your question?
Can you go back up? I think it was the second slide.
Yeah, sure. Right here.
Oh wait, no, I mean the third.
Right here?
Actually, I don't know which one it was, but okay, I just remembered. So it was the guaranteed,
yeah,
that one. So the guaranteed role.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, because you were talking about going for the that you actually fit, but let's say, like, would you recommend people go for roles that they don't fit in just to get like a challenge or have some practice?
So I 100% agree with that. I think I love playing roles that I'm nothing like, but I think as a little safety precaution, go out for the role that you could get and put that on your form. Put that as your like number 2. Because if you don't get, let's say you're trying out for show number 1, and that's the show that has a role that's very different from you, right? And then show number 2 is the role that you fit to a T. On your form, you can put show number 1 as your top choice and show number 2 as your second choice, because if you don't get the role in number 1, automatically your number 2 becomes your number 1. It drops out, and now you've got your number 2. But if you're a little picky about it and you go, I'm only going to try out for this show that has a more interesting character that's nothing like me, it's more of a challenge, I'm only going to go out for that, and I'm not going to go out at all for the show that I know I could get. And you don't get cast, and you didn't go out for that other show. Now you have nothing. It's really much a safety precaution, because sometimes, hey, it's fun to challenge yourself, but sometimes you're not up for the challenge, and sometimes you don't get it. And if you're more risky and more picky, then sure, you can go that route and pick a more challenging character that's nothing like you. Or you can go out for both shows and go out for a role that's different and a role that is kind of a typecast. And maybe you can get both, and maybe you don't get the first one and you get the second one guaranteed, and now you have something to put on your resume. It's kind of really what you prioritize. Do you prioritize getting a role at all? Or do you prioritize more of a learning curve, learning experience, trying to challenge yourself? Or do you just prioritize being on a really fun project with people that you like and you don't really care what role you play? Does anyone have any other questions? Yeah.
Yes. Hi. I actually have 2. The first one is, so you mentioned earlier that you were into acting and producing.
Yes.
How would you, what were the steps you had to take to get from that point? Because I started out in stage acting and just recently at my old school, and then just transferred here for VMA, and I'm interested in doing the same thing. So how, what was your process like specifically for this?
So I've always been very interested in producing and kind of putting myself into my work, because, why not? And something I really recommend to a lot of actors is just write your own content, produce your own content, and hey, throw yourself in there. You're the most reliable person you know. You know what I mean? You know all your time conflicts. You know your schedule. You know who can show up for rehearsals, and you know what you can do. And if you can kind of do something where you can cast yourself, and that's kind of really the most vital thing you can do as an actor or producer. And for me, I knew that's what I always wanted to do. In high school, I produced a play that I wrote, and I casted myself in it as like a little more of a minor role so that I could also, direct and help out with that. But I still was in it as an actor. And then once I came to Emerson, I started to create my own shows here. And I ended up just putting myself in it so that I could get some acting experience and stuff to put on my reel as well. And when I tried out for EIV, I originally just started off as an actor because I was a newcomer and I hadn't been on any of their sets before. So I kind of wanted to, get a feel for what everything was like. And kind of being an actor, you can do that, especially if you're playing more of a minor role. You can do that. There's less pressure on you. You don't have to be at every single shoot. You only kind of get your one day if you're a minor character, and you can get a feel for everything with that. And then I ended up trying out to be a producer. I actually pitched EAV before, and I got put into the development program, but I ended up not continuing with that show because I ended up booking another show, which was Hex. And I actually sent the producers my resume because they were looking for another producer, and I got that show. And I had already been cast as an actress in it. So it was perfect. So now I got to produce and I got to act in it. So hopefully that kind of helps. But
yeah, no.
Ignoring all of that rant.
No, definitely.
My main point is the easiest way to produce and act at the same time is to make your own content.
Got it. And so thank you. That was helpful.
Yeah, no.
So a follow-up with that in terms of, as I mentioned earlier, I have like primarily stage acting.
Right.
Are there any tips aside from the ones you mentioned, like that are more technical that would be helpful going into this if you've never had an experience on set?
On set or just on film in general, or like for the camera?
I would say maybe just like film in general, like just, I mean, I know that there's a couple protocol things that like I've gone over in other classes, but just in terms of like, what was the biggest transition for you to deal with aside from like the bigger aspect of stage acting?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, when you are in a film, it's not that you get less character development or less screen time, but you get I feel like you get less to work with. Because when you're in a play, you get so many lines, you get so much dialogue, you get the whole story in one go, you get to keep running it all the time until it's like perfectly in your mind. But with film, sometimes you just show up on the day and a lot of it's like improv. I have said lines, like very recently, I can tell you, we were shooting Final Girl, and I pitched to the director 2 different lines that weren't even in the script. And he was like, okay, let's go with that. You can kind of improvise things as an actor, and you kind of get a little bit more leeway depending on the director. But, we don't have any Aaron Sorkins here who tell you to stick by the book and stick by every line. A lot of these kids are very much up in the air for anything and anything you want to pitch to them. And especially, if you are a producer, I mean, it's great for you because I'm sure you have tons of ideas and you're like, oh, we should do this and this and this. And that way it kind of gives you more of an opportunity to pitch things. With a play, things are a lot more, funnily enough, technical. Things are a lot more to the book because they have to be, because you only got the stage and how it looks, and everything has to be very, very tight ship. But with film, there's a lot more improv, and there's also a lot less to work with. You get less dialogue. Sometimes you get scripts at different times. Sometimes you are doing a show, and you might get 3 episodes, and they're being filmed out of order. So, in a play, everything's by the book sequence. You as a character are going through everything. So if, for example, in Act 1, you're happy, Act 2, you're sad. You kind of get to go through that transition and work yourself up to that big climactic sad moment. In film, sometimes you're shooting that really sad climactic moment on the first day when you don't know anyone. And they point at you and go, cry, feel, sad, all that stuff, grief. And you have to kind of like just go with it and do it. So I think film, personally for me, I think it's more of a challenge for an actor. You get less to work with, you're filming things out of order, and you kind of have to improvise.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, of course. Does anyone have any other questions?
Yeah, did we already go over the resources of where to find where auditions are happening? Yeah,
so there's going to be probably another one for next semester. Because of Corona, things are a little bit different, but there usually is an EIV general meeting that you can attend. And at that meeting, tons of producers go over all their shows and all the characters are looking for, and most importantly, when auditions will be happening, which is your hiring weekend. It's usually like a designated weekend where you have on your first 2 days, you have the first day cast hiring, second day crew hiring, and then the last day will be callbacks. Not everyone gets a callback. I will tell you right now, I know people sometimes say like, oh, I didn't get a callback, but I think they're still gonna be, looking at me. Usually the people they call back will be the people they give the role to. That's kind of just, I know people who think that even if they didn't get one, they're guaranteed a role. That usually does not happen. But yeah, so that's how that works. And also like, you don't really need to show them a headshot or a resume. If you have it on hand, that's great. It makes you look great and all, but people, again, really like to cast based on time commitment and dedication to the project and less so on experience.
Yeah. So yeah, where exactly is that posted?
So that won't be posted until next semester for all the shows that are happening in the spring. I'm assuming because of COVID, there'll be some kind of YouTube video link again. But if you want to find the one that they just did, you can look up EIV or Emerson Independent Video 2020 general meeting on YouTube. It should be the first video that pops up, but that's all that stuff has already been casted and done. But the new castings and everything like that should be happening at the beginning of next semester for all the spring shows.
Okay. So there's nothing happening right now?
No, I mean, there are shows that are filming still, but they have all been cast. But I would recommend following EIV's Instagram or their Facebook page. That way you can kind of get a sense for when things are going to be coming up. Sometimes that we're having workshops and things like that they're posting about. So it's just kind of a good resource just to follow them anyway.
Okay.
Also, let me stop sharing my screen. There you go. Now I can see all of you. But yeah, hopefully that helps you. But yeah, also if you are looking for auditions for anything else, I would definitely recommend looking at other organizations outside of EIV. I don't know if they want me telling you guys that, but I'm gonna do it anyway. You can look at the Emerson channel. You can look at theater, Full Fathom, Fairworks, like all those kinds of stuff. I know that they have common auditions, common nods, which will probably be happening at the beginning of next semester, where you can try out for different theater shows and even comedy troupes if you want to. But yeah, most of the stuff will be happening next semester. But I also recommend to all of you guys to, on Facebook, follow the Emerson Mafia, follow Emerson Casting Calls, follow all these Emerson groups, even your own year's Facebook group, because sometimes people just post things. They're desperately looking for someone because someone dropped and now they need an actor. So yeah, make sure you're utilizing, again, as I said in my presentation, utilize social media because that's where you find everything. And also, let me send this to you guys in the chat. This is just a form to fill out once we're done here, consenting to being filmed. But yeah, let me know if anyone has any other questions.
We don't, but you did really good, Cayleigh. Good job.
Thank you. I tried to help out as much as I could. I'm sorry that you missed so much of it, Tristan. I'm wondering if there's a way I can send you all these slides if you want them.
Yeah, sure.
If you put your email in the chat, I can share these slides with you.
Okay.
But yeah, so if that's all, everyone, if no one has any more questions, then you're all free to go and make sure you fill out that form. But thank you guys so much for coming. I hope that this wasn't just, too rambly and it kind of helped you guys. And if you have any questions, here's my email. I'll put it in the chat. Feel free to reach out to me. I also, have Instagram and Facebook. So if you want to find me on there, friend me, and let me know if you have any more questions. Yeah.
Thank you so much. This is great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.